Today, I've forgone my usual vest and tie for reasons that will become obvious. Many of us came gradually to the realization that we are being lied to. Often, it starts with just one thing: global warming, the COVID narrative, vaccines. There was a time when many of us trusted our government and the media. Sure, they made mistakes, and sure, there might be a few corrupt politicians, but for the most part, we thought they had our best interest at heart. Then, over time, we became aware that not only do they not have our best interest at heart, but that we're being lied to about almost everything. By our governments, by media, and by corporations. And for many of us, that realization was almost overwhelming. There was simply so much truth we had not been told that it's almost a full-time job to wade through it all. A Canadian group has put together a suite of websites that make the facts easily accessible and breaks them down into bite-sized pieces where people who are only just now waking up to the truth can find information on what is of concern to them. And then, over time, they can access more until they too will understand the scope of the lies. Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Will. It's good to be here.
So very obviously, we're here today to discuss your website, theylied.ca. You were kind enough to send me a shirt, which I have been wearing. Your bumper stickers on the back of my truck. I love what you're doing at theylied.ca. Please tell people about it.
Much appreciated. Well, I guess it's basically, at some point, a group of us were protesting here in the Greater Toronto area, and we realized that the messaging was getting multiple and a bit maybe confusing for the public. So we decided that the first step is to awaken enough people to take action and shift public behavior. And the way to do that is to teach them the truth, to lead them to the truth. So that's when somebody came up with the idea to come up with an easy sort of one-stop source where people could go to find the truth and rely on what they see there. And then the next step would be to provide tools to make it easy for them to take the message to their smaller networks. So that was the basic idea behind it, sort of awaken people, lead them to the truth, and then inspire them to take some kind of action in their local networks. So that's kind of how it came about. And we started off, if I remember correctly, the trigger was the NCI, when the National Citizens Inquiry, and we would ask people at meetings or at protests, are you familiar? And they'd say no. So we thought somehow if we can get the NCI to the people to have them hear the testimonies, the powerful testimonies. So that's kind of how it started. And one of our group made up these, I don't know if you can see these little cards that we would give out at rallies to direct people to the NCI website and also the They Lied website so that they could listen easily to the testimonies of the people. And it just sort of grew from there. It evolved from there, as more and more things come out about the World Economic Forum, about the 15-minute cities, the CBDCs, everything as it evolved, we thought, wow, this is much bigger than just COVID. So how can we be of service to the public that way by, creating a menu of items where they can go and easily find the information that they need, the trustworthy information that they need.
Now, there is an awful lot of information there, and very factual information. You've obviously done your homework. Who's been doing all the research for this?
Well, we usually pull things. We don't create any content on our own. The idea is, and a lot of the volunteers are anonymous. I don't even know who they are. I just check the info, and if it jives with my own research, I go, okay, it's a trustworthy source. So we try to pull in people, like, for instance, we would put a link to your site on theylied.ca because we know that what's coming from you is reliable. So that's kind of how we do it. We just aggregate, and we try to sort it in an easy to use method. So there's drop-down menu on the website. If you're a parent, you can go into the parenting session. You can learn about vax injury protocols for, if your children are reacting. The whole SOGI movement that A lot of parents are very concerned about the, sort of gender issues. There's all sorts of information there about what rights you have. And a lot of it is rooted in the Bill of Rights. So that's how we kind of started out to say, okay, what's going on? What are our rights, our God-given rights, our sovereign rights, and then move things along from there. And it just sort of evolved organically, topic by topic.
Have you gotten any kind of feedback on the topics? And because I said, as you pointed out, there's a lot of information on there, quite a wide variety of subjects. Have you gotten any feedback on what people are looking at most? What seems to be the highest concerns?
Well, interestingly, the NCA was the big hit, which we were happy about. We put, I think initially we had testimony of Rodney Palmer. Don't know if you're familiar with him, but he was...
I know Rodney, yes.
CTV, and Marianne Cloack from CBC. And we felt those were very powerful, veteran journalists that walked away because of the censorship and that. So we started out that way. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, well, what are the ranked subjects. I do know that at one point, somebody got them to do a laser projection of theylied.ca at a Blue Jays game.
Oh.
And they said, you go watch the needle just go up, like all the hits on the site. So it's about, I think they said May of 2023, the site was set up. We were doing stuff with banners and They Lied before we did the site. So it's been about a year, and it's over 600, maybe 650,000 hits so far.
Very good.
And I think most of that is probably GTA.
Okay.
So we wanted, and that's why one of the reasons we reached out to you is, we'd like to go national. We'd like people to start thinking in terms of this throughout the country, and then taking what they learned to their families, to their friends, their circles, whatever, and saying, okay, what's my comfort zone and what can I do to contribute to shift the social behavior, and then maybe step a little outside of my comfort zone and do a little more. That's really it. We want to just make it easy for people to get involved and help us reverse this trend.
Now, you said you've got volunteers who are putting all of this together. Sometimes you don't even know who they are, but they send this information. You look at it. If it jives with what you've been studying, then you post it. So I think the question I want to ask here, Michael, is of all this information that you've gathered and put together, what is of greatest concern to you?
Wow. At this juncture, I think personally, my biggest concern is the digital push, for digital IDs. The vaccine passport mandate really troubled me. And the CBDCs that will follow any kind of a digital ID. Because I think, as you well know, once a centralized group gets control of the money digitally, they've pretty much got it done.
Yes.
So
yes, I've been saying that for some time, that all the plans of the globalists are things that we can fight piecemeal over time, except that one.
Right.
If they get CBDCs and social credit scores, we've lost.
Right.
It's over. They control us all at that point. So we must stop that. And you and I were chatting via email this morning about the petition we just put up on change.org for the bill that was tabled by Conservative MP
Falk.
Falk, yes, thank you.
Falk or something, yeah.
Yeah, Ted Falk, C-400, that would make it illegal for the Bank of Canada to issue CBDCs in Canada. We put that up last Friday. It's now Wednesday. We're almost 3,000 signatures already.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing that we have to be doing, is to be getting people to step up and take action and speak out, and not just take this information, but take it to our representatives and say, look, we need to make changes.
Yes.
One of the things I desperately want to see happen, and I know it's going to be extremely difficult because of the control that Big Pharma has, but to get the information about the link between SIDS and vaccinations out there.
Yes.
Because the statistics are horrendous, absolutely horrendous. And I was reading your page on that this morning. In fact, I think you've done even more research on that than I have, because you had a bunch of just really disturbing statistics on there. And it's not just, the COVID vaccines.
Yeah.
It's all of them.
That's all of them.
Going on for years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when we've got just the statistics are unreal, where we see that 50% of babies are dying within 48 hours of an injection, 70% within a week or so.
Yeah. And they're still pushing
information out there.
And they're still pushing the shots for 6 months.
And they're still doing it. Yes.
It's unbelievable. Yes. Just a little clarification. Well, I don't administer the site myself. I contribute. I don't know who the actual person is that does sort of the digital work on the site. Okay. But I contribute and I write different things. So that's why I can't tell you what's the biggest hit, like what topic gets hit the most. I can find that out, but I can't give it to you off the top of my head. Just going quickly back to your CBDC, some guy in our protest group came up with this idea. You can see it's sort of a $20 bill. And then inside it talks about CBDCs and cash works and why do you use cash. And we had a side benefit from this when we started giving this out to people. It was early on, and we found that nerves were still raw about the vaccine. If we tried to say, people would get really defensive and whatever. So we decided to start using this and say, well, what's a CBDC? Well, I don't know. And then you tell them and their eyes go big. Because once you talk about the wallet. And so it turned out to be a very useful piece because it could build trust talking about cash and the digital ID and the CBDC. And then once things had calmed down, you could say, what do you know about the vaccine safety? And they'd be more receptive to that conversation. So it's kind of had interesting ways how everything's interplayed back and forth,
Well, and of course, that brings us to your other website, usecash.ca.
Yes. Yeah.
And how long has that been around?
It's pretty new, actually, as far as I know. And I don't, as I say, I haven't contributed to that one. But I wouldn't be surprised if the CBDC is up in the top 3 of hits. And that's why I guess they split it off to do another website dedicated to that alone, because it's a big enough topic. And a lot of people are not particularly financially literate. So, we figured we better go in another direction as well to let them dig down as deep as they want on that.
Now, you've been out obviously talking to people. You've been using these tools that you've been showing us.
Yep.
What's the range of reactions that you get when you just come up to somebody who probably has no clue of what's been going on the last few years, doesn't understand what the globalist agenda is?
Right.
What kind of reactions do you get?
Well, it's actually tipping for the better. I'm actually much more optimistic than I was even a year ago. In February of 2022, the trucker convoy weekend, a small group of us started meeting on a major intersection. And we've been there every Sunday afternoon since. And at first, we could only measure by the cars, right? And people sometimes, wouldn't say very nice things to us. Now, some guy made a sign saying, honk if you agree with this stuff. And we have our banners up, like, theylie.ca, vaxinjury.ca. And now the honking goes crazy. And we've gone on overpasses like the 401 and a major street in Toronto. We'd go up there and put the banners on and all the traffic go under and give you the thumbs up and the honks. So I don't know particularly, and just to sidetrack, at these rallies, these Sunday rallies, a lot of people ended up coming and they would bring their own issue. So one would be the World Economic Forum and another one would be Trudeau must go and another one, But because we wanted to be inclusive, we let everybody join and they put up their banners and their stuff. And after a while, I think whoever founded theylie.ca, that was their motivation. They said all of these messages are valid in and of themselves, but it's too noisy. Like if people come through this intersection, what are they going to catch? What are they going to drive away with in their head? And that's where theylie.ca came up, I think. They said just a simple, clean thing that prompts the question, who lied and what did they lie about? And then give them a place to go to find out. So that's kind of...
And it's a fantastic URL. Very, very memorable, very easy. One of those things where I'm jealous. I wish I'd thought of it.
Well, I wish I thought of it too, because, it's been a good learning experience for me because to see how organically a group of people who know nothing about each other can come together with a core purpose, and just all these fantastic ideas pop up, So
now, we were talking earlier about actionable items. You've got that little card that you showed. You've got the $20 bill ad. You've got the T-shirts. You've got bumper stickers. What else can people do when they get involved at theylied.ca or use cash.ca to help spread the message?
Well, they can use the tools that we have. Like, for instance, one of the things, and they've put a lot of stuff up there that can be printed out inexpensively. So, for instance, they have these faux license plates. I don't know if you can pick that up, but there's Alberta. And you can just tape that on the back of your own license plate. We can get banners for people, like any size banners. We have these car magnets that you mentioned.
Yes.
And that's on.
The one that's on the back of my truck right now.
Yeah, and we try to listen to people. So if we have a conversation and someone says, well, I don't want my car to be keyed or whatever, and I don't need any hassle. So one example, I have a friend who has his own business, and he has to drive to client locations. And he goes, I want to support the cause, but I don't want to jeopardize my business or my client relationships. So this was the perfect solution. We give him the magnet. He puts it on his truck. And he drives there, everyone sees it, then he just pulls it off while he's in the client's premises, puts it back on when he goes. So little simple things like that. The other thing, to answer your question, I don't know if do you have Druthers newspaper in Alberta?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So we give these out at our rally. We get bundles of them, and just on the red lights, we go up to cars and just offer it to them. And I would say that's quintupled in the last year of people accepting this newspaper. And a lot of times they'll roll the window down and chat with us while the light's red and say, what should we read in there? What's good? What's, all these different questions. So it's and when people come up and say they lied, what do we say if it's, you're in a busy intersection? I just say, just please go there and you'll see who lied, because there's way too much for me to tell you right here on the street corner, but I guarantee you'll be surprised by what you read.
And it is.
Okay, I'll check it out,
Overwhelming when you get into it, isn't it?
Too
governments, corporations, media, the constant stream of lies and the scope of them.
Yeah.
And it is overwhelming. And it's great that you guys have this website that's so easy to remember, where I would hope that what happens is that people would go, and let's take the case of the person who's been buying the BS, who's been drinking the Kool-Aid. They go there, maybe they take a look for about 30 seconds. They go, oh, it's probably a conspiracy theory. And then they see a bumper sticker, theylied.ca, and then they see somebody wearing a shirt. Maybe I should go take another look. And then they find something, probably, CBDCs or something like that. That's a great starting point, because that's something everybody's concerned about. Everybody can understand that if they get this kind of control, it doesn't matter how much money you have, because they're going to determine where and when you can spend it and how much you can spend. And hopefully, they start just digging deeper, and eventually they begin to understand the scope of it. Because I think there's a tipping point for people.
I agree.
That you begin to suspect that, okay, maybe this or that I've been told isn't true. And then they suddenly reach a point where they realize, wait a minute, everything I'm being told isn't true.
Right. And that's the scary thing. And actually, some of our group has had discussions, not just the They Lied group, but some of the broader protester group, about, are we doing this intelligently? Because you can scare people off pretty fast. And so the people who designed the They Lied site, they wanted to put enough truth up there gently to let people come in and feel safe, and then they'll go deeper as and when they feel ready. Because otherwise it's like fire hosing them, and they don't know how to react. They get more frightened and then the listening shuts off. So that's what we're trying to do with this thing, is just keep it as simple as possible. Have the menu there to show by topic. And then if you got kids, maybe the parenting thing, you go into that, and you don't do the CBDs right away. You go somewhere else, right? So we're just kind of trial and error as we go along. And I think so far it's another friend just took her car in last week to her mechanic, and she has the magnets on the back. And the young mechanic goes, I see those damn signs everywhere. He goes, what the hell does that mean? They lied to us. And did you go to the website? He goes, no. And it turns out he was wide awake. She was really encouraged. She said, a guy, he's in late 20s, and said he really knew what's going on. But then he said, oh, well, now I'm going to send all my friends to this.
Yeah.
So we'll go and drop off some merchandise at his mechanic shop, right? And they can give it out to the customers, just little grassroots stuff like that,
And that's very encouraging that our efforts are working, because I'm hearing more and more now about young people and from young people who do understand now what's going on, that they are being lied to. And that's so important, that we wake up the youth. Now, Michael, you've been very honest with the fact that you didn't create the site, you're a contributor. At what point in time did you realize what was happening?
Very early, Will. I have a business background and degree, and I'm familiar with statistics. And the trigger for me was, I don't know if you remember, but right in the beginning, in March of 2020, they showed a picture only for one day of people lying dead in the streets of China.
Yes.
Hazmat suits, and it was gone. 24 hours, that's it. And I went, no. So I went online and I found who's going to tabulate the data, and it turned out it would be Johns Hopkins. And I just went down that rabbit hole, figured out how to calculate the infection fatality rate of a virus. And then I'm listening to CBC saying, cases, deaths, and I'm looking at the actual data that would go into Johns, and I'm going, no, this doesn't jive. It was less than 1/5 of 1% was the
right. Yeah.
So then I thought, okay, so that's a big lie, and that just started me on my journey. Then I started looking at other things on my own. So that was 2020. And then I just did my own research on mostly, virus related, COVID related. And then when the truckers convoy hit, that's when I met a lot of the group at the protest that we do here in Mississauga. And that's where I met the guys who were behind They Lied, at least some of the volunteers, other volunteers. So they're kind of like my point person. And then we go out and we've posted the theylied.ca banners on I think every bridge in the GTA. I'm getting too old to climb, but so and then some guy came up with a brilliant idea of buying the kids chalk, those big chalk sticks that kids write on the sidewalks. Yep. And then we got a whole bunch of people going around going just theylied.ca on sidewalks, concrete abutments. And it's not damaging property, right? Rain takes it away. So and so people don't feel threatened that they're going to be arrested for public mischief or whatever. So I thought that was a really brilliant idea, I'm kind of wondering.
I think I myself might have missed something, because earlier you mentioned a third website, backsinjury.ca, I believe.
Yes, that's another affiliated one. Again, the same people, sort of anonymous people, but we put their banners up at our protest, and we've pulled in whoever the administrator of that site is. They go to say like Dr. Peter McCullough, and he's got his medical protocols with nattokinase and bromelain and all the different things that you can take. And so we try to vet that through. I'm sure doctors like Mark Trotzy and people like that who have come out and they're giving the message to the public, and that stuff goes then up onto that website. So We'll give them links to, like, we could put your link to your report, Iron Will report, could go on there because you cover the medical stuff as well in your menus. So it's. Those ones, I haven't personally gone into vax injury more than once because it's not an issue for me personally. Myself, I'm not vaccinated. But again, we make sure that whatever goes up there is absolutely accurate information.
Right. Now, Michael, it's somebody who's been involved since early on, who's obviously put a lot of time and effort into this. What would be your final thoughts for our viewers who, and I think perhaps especially for those people that we might be catching who are just beginning to wake up to what's really happening?
I would say take courage. There's lots of little things that each of us can do. I guess backing it up, step one would be nobody's going to save us. A lot of people say this politician, that politician. No, that's not the solution. We have to get together. We have to be collective. We have to be focused, and we have to take action. Whatever your comfort level is, take some action. So when I started with the group, I was not really, what should I say, too aggressive in protesting. So I needed a group to go out and feel comfortable. And then I felt safer. And now I go out with one or two guys and do all sorts of stuff that I wouldn't have dreamed of doing three years ago. Legal stuff, but it's stuff that was outside of my comfort zone. So I would tell people, don't sell yourself short. Once you know the truth, that'll drive your engine and you'll think, I can do something about this. And then just decide what it is and go do that. And when you get comfortable, go a step further, right?
Yeah.
That's what I would say, because collectively, if we do that, we cannot lose.
Yes. And I love what you just said, because we do have the facts and the science on our side. And it doesn't take much. You don't have to be an encyclopedia.
Right.
What I'd say to people is memorize 3 or 4 facts about something and then have a reference. And I think theylied.ca is fantastic because it's so easy to remember.
Yes.
Say, okay, if you want more information, go here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because the other side, they don't have any facts. They don't have any statistics. They've got rhetoric. They've got lies.
Right.
That's all they have. And it's so easy if you can get into a discussion, not an argument, but a discussion.
Yes.
With somebody on the other side and say, well, look, you probably don't know about this, and you don't know about this, and you don't know about this. And now that you know all that, if you want to know more, you can go here and find the rest of it.
Totally agree. Yeah.
Great
suggestion.
All right. Michael, thank you so much for your time and for your work with theylied.ca.
Thank you, Will. I appreciate it very much. Thanks for having us on.